Cave diving is an inherently dangerous activity. All cave divers understand the risks of diving in underwater caves and accept them as an inescapable part of the activity they are so passionate about. An expensive hobby, which buys a steep price. From time to time, divers die doing what they love doing most. This is Marson Ashley Kay's story. There's a place located in Burkesville, Florida, along Highway 19, that boasts a natural wildlife spring that attracts many year-round, accompanied by one of the world's most intricate and dangerous cave systems that lures the curiosity of cave divers. Wachee Springs is a natural tourist attraction located in Wachee, Florida. The spring was named Wachee by Seminole Indians, which means little spring, or the winding river in their language. On November 1st, 2008, the State Park of Florida took over the Wachee Springs as a state park. From May the 22nd to August the 20th of the year 2007, the discharge level at Wachee Springs dropped to a level to allow cave divers to gain an effective entry into the cave system that was located underneath the springs. The Karst Underwater Research Team successfully executed exploration dives and the necessary in-water decompression to explore approximately 6,700 feet in multiple passages. At an average depth of 265 feet of fresh water, with a maximum depth of approximately 407 feet. The 407 feet depth makes the cave system under Wachee Springs the deepest known freshwater cave system in the United States. But that being said, as beautiful and as majestic they are, they can be quite dangerous and even deadly. There have been numerous deaths in the spring over the years, and it just goes to show that nature can be quite lethal. Marson had two loves, working on computers and cave diving. Having had a successful IT career for 6 years, working in information technology for Life South Community Blood Center, all the whilst continuing to dive. Marson was described by his family and friends as a daredevil who enjoyed cave diving and surfing, and even tried his hand at skydiving. Personal recounts from his mother record a time when she expressed her dislike for the sport to Marson. He would then go on to reply, "Mum, if I ever die caving, that's the thing I love the most." 29-year-old Marson Kay was conducting a research dive with Karst Underwater Research in Wachee's main spring area on March the 31st, 2012. He, along with 5 other divers, entered the water shortly after 4:30 p.m. and descended into the springs to an open cavern area about 175 feet down. The open cavern contains several tight rock formations at a depth of about 100 feet. These tight formations would be the cause of Marson's horrific demise. The following information, based on eyewitness and forensic evidence that I'm about to share with you, provides some insight into this tragic accident. Wachee Spring is extensively developed into a tourist attraction that features underwater mermaid shows with a submerged observation area. The spring vent is in the large pool used for mermaid shows. Following the last mermaid show of the day, the group geared up and prepared to execute their dive. It takes many hours of planning to carry out this dangerous exploration that takes them miles back into a cave. On March the 31st, 2012, an enthusiastic Marson Kay, now a 2-year veteran of KUR's all-volunteer team, accompanied by the KUR, were performing a series of dives at Wachee Springs, which included entering and exiting the cave system. They entered the water just after 4:30 p.m. and swam 178 feet below the surface. The water was peaceful on top with a deep blue hue. Turtles and fish swam around the man-made decorations and air hoses. The spring pool measures 165 feet east to west and 210 feet north to south. The spring has an intimidating entrance that is deep, accompanied with an outrageous flow of water that cannot be described. Finally, a massive and beautiful cave below that only a handful of people have had the opportunity to experience. An experience Marson and his team were about to witness as they descended the Wachee waters. Following a successful dive into the cave at 180 feet, Marson K signaled to the team that he was now exiting the maze of tight formations. To exit the cave, one must get out through the miserable entrance. This is the more daunting task of the system. To leave, one must ascend from 180 feet through a horrible flow of water. From that point, a half-inch braided white rope leads upwards to 142 feet, where the crevasse area of the cavern begins. Although the cave narrows at this point, the rope, now coloured orange with a diameter of 7/16 of an inch, is placed in the largest easement leading to a depth of 68 feet, where daylight clearly can be seen at all times. Instead of following the ropes as he had done multiple times in the past, Marson rapidly moved into a highly restrictive area of the crevasse. It is believed that this behaviour was not a calculated decision, but a reaction caused by the effects of an embolism he incurred while rapidly ascending from depth. According to the coroner's evaluation, Marson developed a cerebral arterial gas embolism prior to his death. Typically, this condition causes profound changes in mental functioning, including disorientation, blindness, paralysis, seizures, and loss of consciousness within minutes or even seconds of onset. If it occurs after surfacing, it is often fatal or profoundly disabling even with prompt recompression therapy. When it occurs underwater, the incapacity or unconsciousness it causes almost always results in drowning. Although safety divers were in visual contact and the additional safety gas cylinders were in place, he rapidly pushed himself upward into an area where even side-mount divers could not easily access. Several attempts were made to communicate by means of light signals as well as touch contact. His fellow divers tried to pull him, but couldn't. Although Marson was still moving at this time, he did not directly respond to these communication attempts. They quickly swam to the surface and alerted the other researchers. A rescue dive team plunged back into the water, but when they reached Kay, just 3 minutes later, his mask was on his forehead and his regulator was out of his mouth. He had already died. A subsequent review of his equipment indicated that Marson had approximately half of his gas supply remaining in both of his tanks, and his regulators appeared to be working properly. The medical examiner determined that Kay did not drown, as some initially speculated. The cause? An air embolism from surfacing too fast. An air embolism is essentially an air bubble that blocks an artery and cuts off the blood supply to part of the body. In Kay's case, authorities say, the bubble became lodged in his heart and prevented blood from flowing into his lungs. Yet another tragic ordeal that highlights the dangers of cave diving. Cave diving is always a risk many are willing to take. It's unfortunate that inevitably lives will be lost in the process of pursuing their passion, but we can appreciate that they died doing what they loved, something not everyone can say they experienced. This has been Gripping Horror, and I hope to see you in the next one.